Hello and welcome to Braver Leaders, the podcast, episode 4. In this episode I'm going to talk about politicians, two in particular. The first one is Rishi Sunak. You may have seen him in the news recently, laughing in the face of a woman. Let me play you this clip and then I'll unpack it and give you my opinion about this interaction.
You could make it all go back to how it used to be, where we had.
So there you have it. Rishi did indeed laugh in the face of this woman when she essentially expressed a desire for things to be like they were. And when I saw that clip, I have to say, I was irritated, and that's putting it mildly. I thought, this just is so representative of everything that I think is wrong with so many politicians. You know, obviously wanting to get away, hoping that one of his entourage would signal him or lead him away so he didn't look too bad, having to walk away from this lady who used to work in the National Health Service, as far as I'm aware. I think this took place in Winchester. And I just thought, well, there we go. But then I decided that the clip seemed to be a bit short. It was actually a slightly longer version that I saw initially. And I looked around and found a longer, much longer version of the clip. And lo and behold, that was not where that interaction ended. So I'm going to play you now a short snippet later on from the same conversation with this woman. Here we go.
We're not saying yes, but everyone else has said yes. So
Thank you.
I'm about to put £1 billion.
So you'll see there that they've moved on a little bit. They've been in conversation. Rishi's even shaking the lady's hand, and so he didn't dash away. And after that unfortunate laughter, he did spend time. And is that something that every politician would have done? Probably not. Is it something that some politicians would have done? Yes, definitely. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because when I saw the first clip, again, a slightly longer version than I played you here, but that first clip made me think, oh gosh, this confirms my suspicions. This confirms my bias. And where I saw the clip was on social media with a lot of inflammatory, almost clickbaity type titles. And some people discussed the clip, but they never played the rest of it. They never showed that the conversation went on. And maybe what Rishi Sunak was doing was just laughing at the thought of how complex things actually were these days compared to how they were then. Again, not a good look, not a good strategy. And I'm not a fan of Rishi Sunak's. The other politician I'm going to mention, by the way, I'm not a fan of either. So just to put that in perspective. But I'm not going to get into hate. I'm not going to get into despising people, and I'm also going to guard against looking at everything through a particular filter, because if I presume that everything this guy does is wrong, everything he says is based in some kind of greedy scheme somewhere, then I'm immediately shutting down my ability to look at the big picture. It may be that comes to pass, and it is the case in certain situations. But if that's all I'm looking for, then that's all I'm likely to see. And that is dangerous, and I'll come on to that later on. But let's then talk about the second politician. The second politician is Keir Starmer. So, in many ways, we should be thinking this is the antithesis of the Tories. And the leader of the Tories have got the leader of the opposition, Labour. This clip, again, one of two, is taken from an incident 3 years or so ago now, maybe longer. And it was during the lockdowns, or actually in between, I think. And essentially Keir and entourage rock up to a pub in Bath, and the landlord is none too pleased. Let's look at the first clip.
Sorry, I am the landlord. He's the landlord. That man is not allowed in my pub.
You see there that the security guy is taking no prisoners. You know, he's taking no chances, and some people complained about the handling of the landlord, and it did look to me to be a little bit over the top. Again, to try and look at things in balance, one would have to, I suppose, bear in mind that you don't know who's around these days, and perhaps it is better to be safe than sorry, but it certainly looked to be over the top. But again, remember, we're only looking at clips. The next clip is, well, it's basically as Keir is about to leave the pub. And, well, let's see what you think of this one.
Get out of my pub! Go on! Calm yourself down. Get out of...
So once more, it's clear that the landlord is very angry. And I was surprised that Keir reached out like that, because he's a lawyer, apparently a good lawyer, and a lawyer, one would presume, has to know a little bit about human nature. When someone is angry like that, it's not a good idea to approach them. Unless, of course, Keir was aware that there was a hulking great security guy there who had the situation under control and the cameras were rolling. So maybe he thought, well, I'll be the one to look very magnanimous and reach out my hand, or in this case, fist, to do some kind of fist bump thing, I presume. And so he could leave the pub looking like the one who had taken the moral high ground. I've tried to reach out to you. I'm being friendly. You're the one who's angry with no good cause whatsoever. But surely that's just me being cynical. And I guess what I'm saying here is that if we, again, look at people through a certain lens, so if you're a big Keir fan, it may be difficult for you to admit to the possibility that it looked a little bit high and mighty to, you know, bowl into town with your entourage, just expect to go into a pub and everybody go, hey, yeah, oh wow, Keir, great. This guy, the landlord, was annoyed. He had good reason in his mind to be annoyed, and he wanted to express that. But some people didn't think that was a fair thing, that the guy was over the top, the landlord. Personally, I didn't. I could understand his reaction. I don't think he should have been quite so aggressive, but I do understand it. And I don't think that Keir looked great in that situation, but maybe some people did or do. And I guess what I'm ultimately getting to here is, who can you trust? When we see these people through the lens of a camera and then on a screen, often it's stage managed, often we hear what they want us to hear, often they know the questions in advance. And who do you choose? Who do you trust? Because it's easy to fall into the performative part of politics and to make it a little bit like a soap opera and a Punch and Judy show where you boo for one person and cheer for another. That's dangerous, I think. Instead, we should look at those people who understand that they're there in power to serve. It's nothing to do with them, ultimately. If we see people grandstanding and self-aggrandizing, are they really fit for office? If they don't understand it's to do with service, are they fit at all to be in politics? But it's not just politics, is it? It's the world stage. It is some of the big tech companies, some of the pharma companies, NGOs, etc. businesses, people in those positions are there to serve. They're not there to have us serve them. And I think they can get that the wrong way around. And so whether you love Rishi or don't, or love Keir or don't, beware. If you get too heavily invested in someone and you base that on PR and spin, then you may be very disappointed. In fact, who can we choose unless we look towards those people who have a strong moral compass, are extremely ethical, and who serve? Those are the people we should pay attention to, give our energy to, vote for, buy from, etc. Same thing in the States. You look at Biden, you think, really? Most leadership roles, if not all of them, wouldn't accept Biden as a leader. But some people go for Biden and say, well, the alternative is the other guy. And they hate the other guy that much that Biden's okay. Don't you think that's a bit suspicious? Don't you think that's a bit wrong? Don't you think that that choice is a huge insult? There are an awful lot of really intelligent, highly intelligent, well-balanced individuals in the US. And that's who we have. I think it was the comedian Billy Connolly who said whoever expresses an interest in becoming a politician should be immediately barred from ever becoming a politician. It's a strange thing to want to get into, but some people, I believe, do go into it with the best intentions. They do want to make a difference. They are decent. Now, where are they, and why can't we readily find them? I think that's what we all have to be asking ourselves. Let's get those other people and interview them, find them, bring them to the fore. Because the ones that we tend to see, I'm not saying that they're necessarily unethical or believe that there's something special, but there is an air about that from an awful lot of them. And again, what's the choice? Where are those other people? Another trap that I think we can fall into is to think of it as being parties. Not these days, not anymore. I think it's down to the individuals. I think it's down to who's shaping and leading that particular group. So even though you might have thought, I can't stand, let's say, the XYZ, or as I was talking about America, XYZ party. But maybe there's a group of people in there who are leading it, or even one, and they are who you should be supporting. It's just changed times. So, amidst all that, amidst not getting too het up, too blinded by anger and emotion because we support this person and despise that one, we need to take a big step back. We need to calm down and realise that we're fair game to being played when strong emotions are at play. Divide and conquer. Instead, within communities, locally, we need to connect with people. We need to find things in common. We need to help. We need to generate a much more collegiate spirit. And collectively, we need to demand more from those people in power. And I'll give you one simple example. How many times have you seen a politician asked a question and they do not answer it? When did we begin to put up with that nonsense?